Shane Steichen named Anthony Richardson the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts against the Buffalo Bills this weekend. What are our expectations for the rookie? What do we want to see from Richardson? And what else will we be watching for this Saturday in Buffalo? Let's talk about it. Welcome to the Horseshoe Huddle Podcast presented by Fan Nation on SI.com, part of the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Andrew Moore. Just got back from Westfield, Indiana, taking in Colts camp today alongside my fellow writer, analyst, and co-host of the Horseshoe Huddle Podcast, who is also there at Grand Park taking in the action, Drake Wally. Drake, we have an answer, at least for the first preseason game, of who the starting quarterback is going to be for the Colts. And it's going to be a fun one. It's really going to be interesting to see how he attacks this, what we see from Anthony Richardson. And there's going to be a lot of storylines surrounding this preseason game, which is really hard to imagine. But how are you doing, man? It was great to see you today in person for once.
Yeah, same right back to you. And there's so many ways to answer, that question about, what are we going to see? At the end of the day, I have to go with how I feel. I haven't been this excited for a Colts preseason game since Andrew Luck's first preseason game. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's it. And that was a long time ago. So preseason football is usually pretty boring, but when you're in the state that the Colts are in right now with the situation that they're in with a rookie quarterback, it's actually quite exciting to see how he's going to attack a good defense.
The entire 2023 season is going to be about the development of Anthony Richardson. Whether you like it or not, that's what the focus is going to be on. So, and it starts on Saturday with his first ever NFL action. I know the chat is fired up to talk about this tonight. The third host, Stats Matt, with the first comment. What's up to you, my brother? I know Stats Matt has been getting a ton of salsa ready, getting jarring pickles. The man is just a machine. So glad he could join us tonight. The CFO of Horseshoe Huddle, Patrick, is in the house. Doesn't have NFL Network, but he's here to watch our show. He doesn't care about CJ Stroud. Really appreciate you being here, Patrick. Noah Compton, got to meet Noah for the first time today at Colts camp today.
Legend.
So it was great to see you, Noah. Thank you all, as always, for joining us. Yeah, he is a legend. Love the hair, by the way. We also have Marvin Fox in the building. Good to see you. Joe Denham, a loyal listener. AR is our quarterback. How are we feeling? We're going to get right to that, Joe. Rich Wheeler. Who's Madden and who's Summerall this Saturday, guys? We actually have an announcement on that, which I think you guys are going to be disappointed. Still doing Bleacher Report, but the formula has changed. So, but thanks a lot, Rich. Also, shout out to Luke Veerkamp. We saw Luke today at Colts camp. Hell of a guy. If you guys haven't seen his pictures on Twitter, be sure to give Luke a follow. Excellent at what he does. A very talented individual. Great to see you, Luke. And then Spooks Hill Joe, who scores the first touchdown on Saturday. Let's hear it from everyone in here. Yeah, let's get that in the chat to get things going. But before we dive in here, guys, please go follow us on all the things. Like Horseshoe Huddle on Facebook, follow at Colts on FN on Twitter, and subscribe to the Horseshoe Huddle YouTube channel. Click that bell so you know whenever Drake and I are going live, whenever Shad goes live, and we've already got a super chat with, you guessed it, Patrick. Patrick is in here with a super chat. He says, let's start us off. Should we be concerned about Taylor since the Colts offered Kareem Hunt a contract? That's a great question. I don't think we should be necessarily overly concerned as far as just because Kareem Hunt got offered a contract. I think everything is still in the same spot with Jonathan Taylor in the Colts. He's currently away from the team, rehabbing his ankle off-site. Shane Steichen said today that he should be back next week with the team. So that was good to hear. But I don't think it's really too much of concern. But the Colts are active in the running back market right now. What are you thinking, Drake?
I mean, they've also had like so many injuries. I mean, we talked about it today. Jonathan Taylor, Deion Jackson, Zach Moss, and then who was the most recent? They had another injury, I believe. They had a
Deion Jackson.
Oh, okay, so it was those guys. So that's a lot of guys to lose. Xavier Scott wasn't playing.
Xavier
That's
Scott,
who wasn't.
yes.
So that's 4 guys, man. That's your top, like 1, 2, 3, 4. There they are. So the Colts really, I think, wanted to look into a solid running back 2 potentially, or someone to push for that spot, or just a big name to bring to camp. To kind of compete for maybe the 3rd spot as well. Like maybe they see Moss as the 3rd guy and Jackson as the 4th guy, and maybe Evan Hall factors in some other way. But I do think it, like we said, Andrew, it's weird. I mean, I do think Jonathan Taylor shows up. But at the end of the day, this whole situation, him like being off, not on the property with the team and doing his rehab off site, I think that's a little odd. I think that just how vague the team has been and just how kind of he's been quiet completely through all of this. That's a little odd. And just the way that Jim Irsay right now and Jonathan Taylor and his representation kind of look at each other's odd. It's just a very weird situation that I can't really make heads or tails of.
Yeah, and we're gonna have. I saw Patrick. He asked, "What did Kenyon Drake get hurt?" Kenyon Drake did not get hurt. Drake was out there at practice today. Practicing with the other running backs. So it's going to be a heavy dose of Kenyon Drake, Evan Hall, Jake Funk, and the rest of the healthy running backs this weekend. But at least Drake will be out there. So I don't think anything has transpired with the Colts and Jonathan Taylor. They're kind of in the same spot. And just because they offer Kareem Hunt, I don't think that necessarily means a trade or anything with Jonathan Taylor is imminent. But I could they could trade him tonight and just blow up my entire theory. But Patrick, thank you so much for the super chat. As always, you are an absolute legend. Logan Schmidt is in the house as well. Good to see you, buddy, as always. But yeah, getting back onto things. Hey guys, as I said, like us on all the things, follow us on all the things. And if you can't catch us live, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts, we're on there as well. So please give us a 5-star review and subscribe there. And we had I think it was Rich Wheeler asking. Yes, Rich Wheeler asked about us on Bleacher Report on Saturday. And originally we were going to call the game live, do a live watch along with you guys. Bleacher Report called an audible at the last second, and we are now giving post-game analysis. Still on the Bleacher Report app, and we're going to be live within 5 minutes of the game ending. So as soon as you're done with the Colts game on Saturday, get onto the Bleacher Report app, because Drake and I are going to be live on there giving our gut reactions, our instant breakdown of the game pretty much as soon as the game ends. So make sure you download the Bleacher Report app and get that all set up, because it'll still be a fun time. Still enjoy Sunday or Saturday afternoon breaking down Anthony Richardson's first experience in the NFL. And Drake, let's get right to it. Let's talk about Anthony Richardson versus the Bills. So Shane Steichen came out. He knew the question was going to be asked. He didn't even wait for it to be asked today. Steichen came out and said Anthony Richardson would start versus the Buffalo Bills. He also revealed that Richardson and the starters will play about a quarter against the Bills on Saturday. So we're going to see Richardson for probably 2 to 3 series. I would think maybe a little bit longer. It probably just depends on how the game goes, the flow of the game. But when we sit down 1:00 Saturday afternoon to watch Anthony Richardson take his first snap in the NFL, what are your expectations for Anthony Richardson on Saturday?
It seems like that should be such an easy question to answer, but it's really not. He's looked fantastic. I think he's looked great in camp, and I think that it's going to be a lot different because it's no longer your teammates. At first you're kind of getting used to your teammates defensively, but after a while you start to learn their tendencies playing with them all the time. And you hear these guys say, I can't wait to hit somebody else other than our teammates. So I think that he's going to show glimpses of what makes him special. I think that he's going to show good pocket presence. I think that he's going to make big plays, but you're going to see mistakes. All right, this is a good defense. Okay, and regardless of if it's their starters or not, the Bills still have good depth players. So they're also playing in Buffalo. They're not playing at Lucas Oil. His first actual game is not even in Indiana or at Indianapolis. So he's gonna struggle at times. But like I said, at the end of the day, this is his first game. Get the reps. He's getting the reps. reps. That's what he needs. So that's the big positive here.
Exactly. Another super chat from Logan Schmidt here. Really appreciate the super chat, buddy. Logan asks, sorry if it's off topic, who stuck out today in practice? So Drake, we're gonna dive into this later in the show, but for our buddy Logan, let's each give one guy that we thought stood out. I'm gonna let you go first. Who was the guy that stood out the most to you today at Colts training camp?
Josh Downs. And I'll explain later, but Josh Downs is a freaking dog.
Drake wrote an article today about Josh Downs, and he's not wrong. Josh Downs did have a day. For me, it was Dayo Odeyingbo. Had quite a day against Blake Freeland. So Braden Smith was out today. He's dealing with a little bit of a knee issue, and Dayo Odeyingbo was going up against Blake Freeland, who was replacing him at right tackle, and Odeyingbo had quite a few pressures on Anthony Richardson, and really gave Blake Freeland his welcome to the Hurricane Dio moment, as well as the welcome to the NFL. So Hurricane Dio did have himself a game, but Logan, or a day, I should say. Logan, really appreciate the super chat, buddy. As always, you're a legend. I keep calling everybody legends. It's because when you give us a super chat, you deserve that title, in my opinion. So Logan, really appreciate it, buddy. But Drake, Anthony Richardson. Expectations for him, you want to make sure he belongs, and I think he will. He's shown it all of training camp, but the biggest thing for me is you want to see him probably move the ball on offense. You want to see him being able to execute the game plan, what little game plan that there is. You want to kind of see the timing, I expect him to maybe have a little bit of timing issues, but at the same time, you should still see that confidence growing within him. I expect him to command the huddle without any issues, and I expect to see a guy that's on his way to being the full-time starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. I think he'll probably be a little bit nervous. He even said today that he's probably going to be anxious when he goes out onto that field, but it's a good kind of anxious. They're good jitters because he wants it so much, and he's just so excited to be on that football field. So do I expect him to go out and go 8 of 8 for 2 touchdowns in 2 drives? No, I don't think that. I think the Colts are going to try to work him in, get him settled into the game here to start. But I just want to see him moving the ball. I want to see the offense moving the ball. I want him to stay. You want him to stay healthy, which I think he will. But I expect him to go out there and make some plays because he is just that kind of athlete.
Yeah, and the thing is, I also want to just see him execute what he actually said is just consistent. He wants to be consistent. So consistency, get through his reads, continue his great pocket presence. That's something he's got. I mean, he can feel pressure. He moves very well in the pocket and navigates it well. Don't force throws. He's probably going to, though, because what's in camp and what's in a game are totally different. And again, he comes from college where he threw a lot of passes using his arm strength only. So he's probably still got to work that out, but he does. You referenced this. His internal clock, it needs to be a little bit quicker, probably, because he's in camp and he's not going to get blasted. I mean, in an actual NFL game, especially if it's like a third string guy, he's going to want to make his name by blitzing Anthony Richardson on a hit if he can. So he's got to be able to get that ball out a little quicker, I think. But other than that, just consistency. He's got to be consistent, move the ball down the field, gain confidence.
Right. Logan Schmidt with another super chat here. I mean, are you giving Patrick a run for his money to be the CFO of Horseshoe Huddle here, Logan? Really, really appreciate it. Logan asks, is his first touchdown pass a touchdown like Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck? Man,
I like the F in Manning.
PFM. We always love a good PFM reference. But wouldn't that be something from a touchdown on the first throw from like Peyton did, like Andrew did, and if Anthony does it, that'd be some spooky stuff. But I think all Colts fans would love it. I think he would send social media into an absolute frenzy if his first throw was like just a quick slant or a deep bomb to Alec Pierce. They seem to be hooking up a lot here in training camp, but we'll see. I mean, I certainly it would certainly be entertaining, and Colts fans would love it if Anthony Richardson took his first one to the house. So Logan, really appreciate the super chat once again, buddy. You're always a joy to have on the show here. But Drake, and the things I want to see from Anthony Richardson, again, you kind of hit it right on the head. This is something that we both noticed. We were talking about it today when watching practice. Is Anthony's Richardson's he's processing things pretty well. I think he's able to read the defense, make his progressions, but I think his internal clock needs to just be a tick faster, and that's going to come with experience. That's going to come with reps. That's going to come from taking those reps in live situations. It's really hard to replicate in practice. But when you see Gardner Minshew out there, and you see Anthony Richardson out there, usually Gardner Minshew is getting rid of the ball quicker than Anthony Richardson, but there's a trade-off to that. We don't really see Gardner Minshew pushing the defense too much deep. It's a lot of short throws, dink and dunk throws. Richardson's always looking for that long ball, and that's not a detriment either. Like, he's just blowing off, doing the whole Carson Wentz where he's not taking the layup and he's trying to hit the deep shot, but it's always in his mind, And we saw Anthony Richardson get the ball off quickly today. He was able to diagnose a blitz really, really easily. As soon as he got the football, he was able to get it out to his running back. I think it was Evan Hall that was in on that play for an easy 6-yard gain. And again, just take what the defense gives you. And I think he's been doing a really good job of that in camp. And I would expect to see that again on Saturday as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because his mentality's been on point with that, because there's a huge clip of him playing LSU where he just runs 75 yards to the end zone, right? And everybody's like, oh my gosh, he ran to the end zone. It was Landon Oliver that actually pointed this out. He's looking deep first. He's trying to be a passer. He's waiting to throw the ball deep, but then when he sees that no one's open and everyone's already down the field with verticals, he then takes off. Okay, so this is a guy that's you're supposed to look for that deep shot. Okay, and I like that you also brought up that he's been checking the ball down, because Evan Hall and Josh Downs have been the beneficiary, and so is Isaiah McKenzie,
right,
of shorter passes and stuff like that. In fact, I think that he needs to work the tight ends maybe a little bit more too. So outside of that, though, yeah, Minshew really doesn't push the ball. He's a safe thrower, and he doesn't give you big plays. I'm not saying he can't, but I'm also saying that he is going to be a veteran at the end of the day, and he's going to get that ball out quickly. But it seems like he's a little more on the side of the spectrum of just takes low risk throws a lot. He's more of the small ball guy.
Right. And I this isn't a super chat, but I'm going to highlight this comment anyway from Wyatt Law, because he took the words right out of my mouth. He said, I have tampered expectations for AR's game on Saturday. Vanilla offense, game plan, focusing more on the individual execution of assignments. Just don't have any injuries and show flashes of things to come. Wyatt, you took the words right out of my mouth, where it's not going to be a full-on game plan. I mean, with how secretive Shane Steichen is about scheme, the Colts aren't going to put anything on film for in a preseason game that doesn't mean anything. You're going to see a very vanilla offense, but I think there's going to be a balance between a vanilla offense and also letting Anthony Richardson kind of take his shots, kind of going out there, see where he is mentally, see how he is processing, see how he is just against a live NFL defense that's not his own teammates. So it's going to be fun to watch how much they go after him, how much they really try to let him loose. It's going to be exciting to see. Another super chat from Logan Schmidt. This man is going wild tonight. Really appreciate it, buddy. He said, Logan Schmidt asks, Richardson stat prediction. Drake, do you want to go first on this, or do you want me to take a crack at it?
You know what? Let's just say that he plays 3 series, right?
Okay.
And let's say that one is a scoring drive. This will just be just to make it quick. Scoring drive, punt, and field goal. Okay. So hypothetically, let's say that it's like 7 plays, 9 plays, 10 plays. Okay. So he has 26 total plays. Let's say he's probably going to run, I'd say he has 4 or 5 carries for 29 yards, a touchdown on the ground, but he'll have, because they're going to want him to throw the ball and start getting loose. I'd say we'll say a healthy 6 for 10 for 86 yards, but there will be 35 of those yards will be completed with a deep ball. I think he's going to throw. The inaccuracy is going to be there. It's just expected.
I mean, that's just the ups and downs of a rookie quarterback. No rookie quarterback's going to be perfect. I'm going to say, I think he'll go. I'm going to go 5 for 9. I'm going to go 5 for 9. I think he's going to have probably around 5 for 9. I'll say 63 yards. And I will say he will get a touchdown. I say it'll probably be on that second drive. But yeah, I think I don't know if there's going to be a deep ball there. Again, they're going to try to keep things vanilla, but 5 for 9, 63 yards and a touchdown. I think we would all be ecstatic about that stat line for Anthony Richardson. Logan, really appreciate the super chat once again, excuse me. And then we have a new listener here that wants us to say his name, so let's do it. BJ Prods looks like a hell of a Colts fan. Welcome to the show, buddy, and really appreciate you joining us here tonight. But Drake, as we kind of let's move a little bit away from what we expect in the game and kind of talk about what we saw Anthony Richardson in training camp this week. And to be honest, it wasn't the cleanest week for Anthony Richardson. He had his moments where he put the ball on the money. He made some good decisions, but again, you started to see that inaccuracy. You saw him miss on Tuesday, he missed a deep ball where it was underthrown. But the wide receiver, I think it was Mike Strawn, really didn't do too much to help him with that, and it was intercepted by Kevin Tolliver. He didn't have an interception today, but he was pretty erratic. I think our own Jake Arthur had him 5 for 12 passing. There were a couple drops in there for sure. There were a couple would-be sacks that kind of disrupted the timing of it. But he also had some overthrows of Kylan Granson, if I remember right. But then there was a really nice comeback route to Alec Pierce on the sidelines. And then in 7-on-7, he threw a really nice ball for a touchdown to Michael Pittman Jr. On a post route in the back of the end zone. So again, an up and down day. We saw a little bit of inaccuracy, a little bit of inconsistency at times. But again, that's life as a rookie in the NFL. I'm not going to get all worked up and panic over a couple preseason training camp practices.
Yeah, and there's been people that I've heard that have said that he's been overall inconsistent, and it's like that's just not true. He has been on an upward trajectory I think he's far more along than I even expected, and I expected him to be pretty far along for a guy that was his experience level, which is very, very low. So yes, there were days where he's got inaccuracy issues at times, and it's through days where you'll get 5 to 12, but then you'll get 2 straight days, or one day of you'll have 9 for 11. He looked absolutely fantastic on Sunday when we saw him. I mean, he was hitting literally everybody, every position, running back, tight end, wide receiver, everybody was getting the ball from AR. So you just want him to continuously work through those 5 for 12 days, but he looks comfortable. Okay, which comfortable is huge. It might be the biggest word for AR. As long as he's comfortable in Shane Steichen's complex offense, by the way, that's huge. So he's comfortable. He still struggles a bit with the consistent accuracy, but that will get ironed out. And he's calm and he's grasping the offense more and more. But lastly, the team is starting to see him as the guy. Okay, even Gardner Minshew as his backup sees him as the guy. Everyone sees him as the guy. So all this support, all this confidence that he's getting, and Shane Steichen right in his back pocket, he's going to iron out those inaccuracy issues, those footwork issues. It's going to take time because he needs reps like he's going to get on Saturday. So these are his first reps. Just expect him to struggle on a play here and there, overthrow a ball, underthrow a ball. It's just going to happen. So expect it.
Right. And again, yeah, this is what is what normally happens with a rookie quarterback in the NFL. It's not Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck that come in right away and absolutely light the world on fire.
Manning gave the ball to the defense all the time in his rookie year.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you're talking about that, I mean, some of the accuracy issues, a lot of it is just timing too. You mean the throw to Kylan Granson today that I saw that was overthrown was an overthrow. But a lot of times when we talk about inaccuracy, it's because it's not like he misses by 5 yards. I think a lot of people, when we say he's inaccurate, that's kind of what they imagine. No, I mean, it's just not, the ball's not perfectly placed right in front of him. Sometimes it can be behind, sometimes it can be a little bit too far out in front, things of that nature. But he's not missing these guys by a wide margin. And again, we knew this coming in. This isn't breaking news that or oh, Anthony Richardson's all of a sudden is having accuracy issues. It's going to take time. And that brings us to another super chat from Logan Schmidt. This man is on a absolute tear tonight. Logan, we really appreciate it, buddy.
Rapid fire, baby.
This is insane, the amount of support you give us, and we couldn't thank you enough. Logan asks, how are the mechanics coming along with Anthony Richardson? So Drake, honestly, I like what I see. I mean, I look at his footwork, especially compared to like when you and I were at the combine watching it, and I was kind of pointing out different things that I didn't necessarily like with his footwork. He's keeping a nice wide base. His feet aren't getting happy where he's like bouncing up and down in the pocket. You see him using more of his body, more of his hips to throw the ball, not just relying on his arm strength and flicking the wrist. He's really trying to line everything up and set the hallway to make sure that it's a natural throw and he's getting his entire body into it. The times that I do see him struggle with his mechanics is when there's some pressure on him, some simulated pressure. Then you can kind of see him start to, I wouldn't say panic, but he's just not really getting as much through his body as normal, and that can cause his throws to be a little bit off. But overall, I'm liking what I've been seeing with his mechanics, and even from the start of the camp to today, I've seen small improvements just from what I've seen. So before I let you give your analysis, we have a super chat off, I guess. Patrick is in here. He's coming back at Logan with a $10 super chat saying, step up your game, Schmidt. Hey, you guys want to battle it out with super chats? Be our guest. But the CFO of Horseshoe Huddle comes back with an absolute banger,
proving he's the CFO
of a super chat. Hey, Patrick, we really appreciate it, buddy. That was hilarious. That made our night. Good. But Drake, what do you think about his mechanics and what you've seen when you've been down there at camp?
So right there with you. I think that he's making those adjustments. He's making improvements. He's making mistakes, but then not duplicating them over and over and over. From the combine, I mean, yes, there's been improvement with his footwork, but he just needs to start to also understand how strong his arm is, because there was a play to Isaiah McKenzie, which, look, he's a vet. He should have caught this ball, but he was like probably 6 yards away, and Richardson just goes, whoosh, and that ball just rocketed out of his hand. McKenzie, it just goes right off of his hands. McKenzie, I don't think was expecting it to be that hard, that short, but two things. One, he still should have caught it. And two, I mean, he had Josh Allen as his quarterback. Come on. He should have caught it. But two, Richardson needs to understand that those short and intermediate throws, I think this was a combine critique that he had, is that he can't just pepper him in there. Him and Will Levis did that a lot. They would just throw that ball as hard as they could. So he's just got to understand when to really rocket it and when to kind of take a little bit of pepper off of it.
He's got a bazooka attached to his right shoulder. You know what I mean? And that's something that he is going to need to learn how to contain. You know what I mean? Because if that happens in a real game where he's under pressure and he just tries to fire it in there, I mean, it could go off Isaiah McKenzie's hands and into the hands of a defender for an interception. So that's what he's going to be. That's what's going to happen. He's going to just need to adjust to that. When he's under pressure, doesn't mean he needs to absolutely fire a missile in there. He still needs to take care of the football, go through his progressions, and use his body, use his mechanics that he's been drilling and practicing so diligently on, and put that to use. So yeah, I really think Anthony Richardson is I mean, while it wasn't his best week of practice, again, that's going to happen. And what really matters is what's going to happen in these next 3 games. Those reps, the live reps against another defense, and really trying to get settled into the game, into a live game. But Drake, as things are going, I think you're on the same boat I am. I am getting more and more confident by the day that Anthony Richardson starts week 1, especially with him starting already in the preseason, with how things have been going in training camp. Everything is setting up for number 5 to be out there as the starter against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, and it's all going to be what does he do in the preseason? This is the ultimate practice for him because it's no longer the Colts. It's no longer his buddies Zaire and his buddies not Julian Blackman, but his buddies like Juju Brents. It's not that anymore. Okay, he's going against guys that want to make a name for themselves. So we'll see. It all starts on Saturday. I'm confident too that the Colts have him on track. It's all going to depend on how he performs in these preseason games.
Exactly. And looking here at another super chat from Logan Schmidt. The man just doesn't stop. So, hey, Logan asks, how are the vibes in the building overall? Well, are you including Jonathan Taylor or are you not including Jonathan Taylor? Because honestly, when you look at the players on the practice field, they're having a good time. It's different. It's definitely a different feel than it was. At least I feel it's different from the Frank Reich years because the pace of these practices is insanely quick. And while they're out there having fun, it seems like it's very, very serious, very, very serious when it's time to go out there and play. It's not just guys going through the motions. Guys are seriously out there trying to get better. And I think that's the culture that Shane Steichen has established already. Not that Frank Reich didn't want guys to get better. I mean, hell, 1% better every day was the mantra, but it just seems like it's much more serious around there. There's just a heightened level of intensity, and it's not a I'm trying to think of the right words to explain this, Drake, but it's just not. It's not like not a cuddly feeling, but like it's not like you're going to be best friends with somebody. I mean, yeah, they're a tight locker room, but it's business time when it's out on that field. And those guys are serious about working. They're serious about winning, and they're there to compete. And I really like the feel around it outside of the Jonathan Taylor distraction. What do you think?
Absolutely agree. I mean, you got after practice, you got guys like Shaq Leonard playing with his kids and Michael Pittman playing with his kids. I mean, you see just overall
family atmosphere.
Yes, a great atmosphere. It feels like these guys really want to get out there and get better. But yes, outside of the Jonathan Taylor drama going on, it doesn't feel like any. If you didn't know about the Jonathan Taylor thing and you were watching Colts practice, you would think that there's not a damn thing wrong in that locker room, and it is a polar opposite to last year. I will tell you that.
Right. I mean, when you talk to the veterans, it's different. I mean, Shaq Leonard is definitely in a different spot. Kenny Moore is in a different spot. You talk to guys like, I mean, Gardner Minshew obviously is Gardner Minshew. He's happy all the time. But when we talked to Kylan Granson today, Kylan Granson was very excited talking about how the locker room.
He was so happy.
We haven't heard Quentin Nelson, even the times that Quentin Nelson has spoken to us, we haven't heard Quentin Nelson this fired up in years. So there's just a different energy around this team, and it's a good energy outside of what's going on with Jonathan Taylor. But Logan, again, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. And he says, okay, I'm done taking up the show. Sorry. Hey, if you're going to give us a super chat, this is why we do this show. It's for you guys. So if you want to keep sending us super chats, we'll keep answering your questions. But ultimately, the show is for you guys. So we're here to answer any questions that you guys may have. So Drake, we've talked about Anthony Richardson for about a half hour now. Let's do a little bit of preview of the other things around this Colts-Bills game. What are we watching? What things are we going to be looking for when Indianapolis takes the field in Buffalo on Saturday? So I'm going to start with you. Let's look at the offensive side of the ball first. What are some of the things that you're going to be watching for, and what do you want to see the Colts accomplish on Saturday?
Pretty simple. Move the ball consistently. Regardless of who's playing quarterback. I mean, outside of Sam Ehlinger, it's a new quarterback in Minshew, and it's a new quarterback in Richardson. So move that ball consistently. The offensive line, that might be what I watch more than anything. Because I believe in Richardson. I also believe in Richardson with Steichen, maybe even more than Richardson. So that's not going to be so. I mean, I'm going to watch that closely, but it's that offensive line. How do they play against a good Bills front? So that's something to watch. Run the ball, short throws to start to open up that vertical game, bring the defense in, but prevent turnovers and wasted plays. There was a lot of both of those last season. with Matt Ryan and Ellinger and Foles. So just start off the preseason by, at the end of the day, move the ball consistently and block well. Those, without question, are the two biggest things to me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with the offensive line, because what we've been seeing in camp has been very promising. So you want to see that unit kind of working together, being able to move the Bills' defensive line and getting those running backs to the second level, like they've been doing often in training camp. Even if Braden Smith isn't out there, which is looking like right now, he probably will not be out there. Braden Smith is dealing with a little bit of a knee injury, but Steichen said it's not serious. Again, they're just being really cautious with these guys in training camp. No reason to push these guys right now. But yeah, definitely the offensive line. I'm also going to watch Alec Pierce and Josh Downs. Those are the two wide receivers that I'm gonna have my eye on. Alec Pierce, I think, is going to he already has a connection with Anthony Richardson, so that could play into where Richardson goes early, having that connection with Alec Pierce. And then Josh Downs has just been so impressive. And as Isaiah McKenzie is the starter in the slot for now, it means we could see a lot of Josh Downs in the second quarter to the third quarter. I think Josh Downs is going to make a name for himself. And then finally, the running back situation for me. Out is Jonathan Taylor. Out is Zach Moss. Out is Deion Jackson. I saw in the chat people talking about Kenyon Drake being down in practice. I didn't see that today. I know Zach's reported on it, but it didn't seem like he was out for very long if that did happen. So it seems like it's going to be Evan Hall, Kenyon Drake if he does go on Saturday, Jake Funk. It's going to be those guys. And for me, obviously, I'm going to be looking at Evan Hall. Really, really excited to see what Evan Hall does. I think he's going to get plenty of run on Saturday, and he may be the guy that is used the most on the offensive side of the ball for the Colts. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
And that's something that, especially, I mean, everyone was excited, I think, to a degree about Evan Hall's drafting because Nyheim Hines was gone. So you wanted that guy opposite Taylor. Now with everything going on with Taylor and the fact that we're starting to see, holy cow, Hall is more than just a receiving back. This dude is a very big problem if you let him get into space. Now you're even more excited to see what he can do. So regardless of what happens with Taylor, what doesn't happen with Taylor, I can promise you this, especially if he has a good game against the Bills, Evan Hall will have a significant role in this offense.
Now, on the defensive side of the ball, I think obviously you're going to gravitate towards those young cornerbacks, no matter even if it's the rookies or the second year guys, because right now you have two guys in their second years in Dallas Flowers and Darrell Baker Jr. as your starters on the outside for that second team. The starters on the outside or the guys on the outside on that second team, Juju Brents and Darius Rush. Can those guys impress enough to really challenge Darrell Baker and Dallas Flowers and what they've been doing throughout training camp? How are Darrell Baker Jr. and Dallas Flowers going to go up against some of the starters on the Buffalo Bills? Not sure if Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis are playing in this game. Maybe Gabe Davis. I would think that maybe Stephon Diggs probably sits this one out. But hey, that's a really tough matchup. The Bills have plenty of options on that offensive side of the ball. It's going to be a very good challenge for those guys.
Yeah, and that's something I'm actually looking to watch for is like, how does this young secondary deal with any level of NFL competition that's not the Colts? Again, it's just the same thing with AR, only the other side of the football, and that's something to look for. I also would like to see some push from the pass rush, because even though the Colts almost tied the franchise record for sacks, they didn't seem like they were getting consistent pressure last year. So I want to see some of that. And just don't allow massive plays downfield. That kind of ties into the cornerback discussion and safety discussion, because Nick Cross is probably going to be out there too. His biggest thing is that he missed tackles and he allowed receivers to get behind him. So if he can stop doing both of those things, maybe he can make a name for himself just right out of the gate in this game. And you know what? I'm also looking for the defensive interior, whether it is just Grover Stewart or not. I'm looking for them to continue to do what they do, and that's be dominant. That's push the quarterback to the outside.
It's doubtful that the Colts are going to have Julian Blackmon and Rodney Thomas II out there at safety. So you're looking at a safety group that's probably Nick Cross, Trevor Denbo, Henry Black. Those are the safeties that you're really going to see out there at for the Colts this weekend until Rodney Thomas II and Julian Blackmon are back and healthy. But yeah, I mean, if the starters are going to play a quarter, those ends are definitely something to watch as well. Kwity Paye and Samson Ebukam, are they going to be able to get that pressure? Both those guys can usually get to the quarterback and simulate a lot of pressure. Now, can they finish the job? So that's definitely something to watch. But overall, you just kind of want to see everything that we've been seeing in camp, putting it all together. We've seen the pass rush at times really dominate in camp. We've also seen the offensive line be able to move guys and allow big holes for the running game, be able to stand in pass protection, let Anthony Richardson sit back there and completely just progress through the entire defense to find an open guy for a big play. So that's with these preseason games, it does not matter who wins or loses, but you want to see the progression. You want to see the young guys progressing. You want to see everything they've been doing in training camp and showing it out on the field. And this is kind of be our first glimpse of what areas the Colts are maybe a little bit weak in, what areas are they going to be strong in. And you just want to you just want to see that everything on the field that you've been seeing in camp and the promise that you see with this group is backed up against another team and a very good team. Whether the starters are playing or not, the Buffalo Bills have plenty of depth for that team. So it's a good squad that the Colts are going up against this weekend.
Yeah, and it's getting them, like, it's throwing them into the frying pan right out of the gate, which I personally think is great. I think it's good for all the rookies, but especially Anthony Richardson to play against that Buffalo defense.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about what we have seen at camp over the past week outside of Anthony Richardson. As I mentioned earlier, Drake and I were there today taking in all the action before the Colts take off for Orchard Park tomorrow. Drake, I think let's get to the guy that impressed you the most, and that's Josh Downs. Josh Downs worked primarily with the second team today. He did have a little bit of run with the first team, but it didn't matter whether it was first team or second team. Whenever the ball was thrown his way, Josh Downs just made plays, plain and simple.
Yeah, and it was a while back, but there was a new listener named Freedom First who said, "Can we get a rally for first down Downs?" Yes, we can absolutely get a rally for first down Downs. I thought Josh Downs played fantastic during camp. He's made plays with either Richardson or Minshew, by the way. Okay, it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters who the hell you put in front of this guy for quarterback. He's going to make plays, and as he starts to learn more and more, he's going to start to get better and better. So I will say McKenzie struggled a little bit. He had a ball sail over his head. Could have been Richardson's accuracy, but he also dropped that pass I talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. Man, I'm telling you, Josh Downs is really nipping at Isaiah McKenzie's heels. He could send him to the wide receiver 4 spot sooner rather than I previously thought.
Shout out to Freedom First for the first down Downs rally. Well, I definitely think that could catch on in Lucas Oil Stadium.
That was cool
this fall. But yeah, man, I'm being honest. Josh Downs, if this hits, I'm gonna toot my own horn a little bit. But I talked about it, how Josh Downs reminded me of T.Y. Hilton, not maybe in the skill set, but just in the situation. Comes in with a rookie quarterback, maybe doesn't start right away, but it's not going to be long before Josh Downs, I think, is the starting slot wide receiver for this team. And it's not going to be long before Josh Downs becomes a household name and is producing for this Indianapolis Colts team at a very high level. Josh Downs has been very impressive. We talked about his catch radius. He doesn't drop anything. He just goes out there and he makes plays. And when you have a player that does that, you can't keep him off the field. And the best way to kind of get this Anthony Richardson, Josh Downs connection going, hopefully for a very long time here in Indianapolis, get him on the field, get them working together, and get that chemistry in those live games. Josh Downs is going to be a baller for this Indianapolis Colts squad. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the offensive side of the ball here, Drake. The tight end position seems like the Colts have like 45 tight ends, because whenever we're turning around, they're signing somebody. But the reason for that, they have a lot of guys that are injured. Mo Alley-Cox, Jelani Woods, Drew Ogletree. and Will Mallory all missed practice today. All 4 tight ends we thought would have a big role. I mean, I picked all 4 of those guys to make the roster. The only one out of those that I picked to make the roster that actually practiced today was Kylan Granson. So there's still a lot of question marks. We know there's talent there, but the Colts just need their tight ends to get healthy first and foremost.
Yeah, and it's kind of similar to the running back situation. They're like without Granson, but some of their top tight ends are not even playing right now. So it's giving Granson an opportunity to actually show what he's got. But yeah, that's the reason that you're seeing running backs getting added. It's the same you're seeing tight ends getting added. They want to make sure that they've got bodies for camp.
And I think last thing I want to touch on the offensive side of the ball from what we saw, Alec Pierce just continues to be a force. I mean, we talked about him on Monday, Drake, about how he just looks so much better. And we even talked about him in the Horseshoe Huddle halftime audio only podcast episode that we did. Alec Pierce is poised for a big year too. He looks more crisp in his route running. He looks stronger. He looks like he has really adjusted to the NFL game. He is not nearly getting knocked off the line of scrimmage like he did a year ago. And again, he's really starting to create that chemistry with Anthony Richardson. You're seeing it with Pittman. You're seeing it with Pierce. The more these guys practice together, and this is why the Colts want Anthony Richardson to get as many first-team reps as possible, that chemistry is really starting to click along, and they're starting to develop some real camaraderie there between number 5, number 11, and number 14.
Well, very quick, at the end of the day, they match each other's skill sets. You're going to see Anthony Richardson absolutely pepper Alec Pierce, I think, throughout the season with deep shots. He didn't get any, or it seemed like he didn't get any last year. You're going to see the exact opposite this year.
Right. Now, moving to the defensive side of the ball, a guy that Drake pointed out to me today on multiple occasions was Shaq Leonard, and not even really for his play. While Shaq did make some plays out there, definitely saw him have a couple of good coverage plays where he was right there as soon as the ball was. Colts were in helmets and shorts, so there wasn't any tackling today. But if he was out there making plays, getting up in people's faces, just having a great time and bringing that energy to the defensive side of the ball. Before I let you answer and give your take on that, Drake, we have another super chat, this time from loyal listener Truitt. For one of the day ones. Really appreciate the $5 super chat, Truitt. He asks, is Anthony Richardson playing versus the Bears? No VP necessary. Just happy to be a shareholder in Horseshoe Huddle. Yes, Truitt, you are a shareholder. You're one of the loyal listeners. We have you in here every single night we do a show, and we can't thank you enough for all of your support. So let's answer Truitt's question here, Drake. Do you think Anthony Richardson plays versus the Bears next week? We get because the Colts do have those joint practices against the Bears, so he's going to be getting a lot of reps there. Do you think he still plays in the preseason game?
I think they're going to give him looks with as many NFL teams as they can. I would bank on it.
Yeah, I would agree. Honestly, I think he's going to get some shots again with the 2s. He's going to get some shots with the 1s in those joint practices. But again, the kid needs reps. They're going to be careful with him, and they're going to make sure that he is protected. But it would not surprise me if he plays versus the Bears in that preseason game as well, because you want to get as many live reps as possible. Yes, those joint practices are going to be very intense. Both coaches, I mean, Matt Eberflus is coming back to town, so it'll be nice to see him. And the Colts and Bears are probably gonna try to make those simulated games outside of not being able to hit the quarterback or anything else. But if I'm the Colts, and I know it's a little bit risky, but I want Anthony Richardson to get as many reps as possible. You play him for another quarter against the Bears. You just keep things simple, vanilla. Don't put him in harm's way. I think it could be very useful moving forward.
Yeah, and again, you want him out in front of as many different styles of defense as possible. Right. So the Bears is an interesting one. Matt Eberflus is a good defensive mind. I think that it really benefits AR to be out there against Chicago.
Right. Sure. Really appreciate the super chat, buddy. Thank you always so much for tuning in and listening to our show. We really do appreciate it. So getting back to Shaq Leonard, Drake, I mean, what have you seen from him this week? I know obviously he looks happy out there, but what about his play?
He just looks happier, more explosive than he did last season when we watched him in the regular season.
Much more explosive.
He only played 3 games. He's getting back to who he used to be, which was the maniac, Shaq Leonard, not just Shaq Leonard, the guy who was out there making plays, turnover machine. Is he to 100%? Who knows if he's going to be to 100%, but I will tell you this, he's on the right track. If he gets to 100%, right now, he is on the right track to get there.
And one reason that you and I both believe that he's going to be back and playing like the maniac, his answers are just so different when you compare to what it was last year to what it is right now. Last year, anytime someone asked him about his injury, he would just say, I mean, it is what it is. It's getting there. I'm trying to handle it. Now, when you ask him, how's he doing? How close is he to getting healthy? He said, he's always, I'm very, very close. I feel good. He's giving us concrete statements. It's not just this big try to dance around the question, just leave a cloud of smoke around everything. He's being very direct in how he feels, how he is progressing. It's just a completely different attitude. And just by the way he is saying things, his interactions with the team, and then going out there and seeing him live, doing those reps, seeing the speed, seeing him be able to recover, it's a very good sign. Now, do I think the Colts play him in the preseason? Honestly, I would probably say no. I don't know if Shaq Leonard's going to be out there. Shane Steichen, when he was asked, didn't say yes or no. But I almost am leaning towards they're going to save Shaq Leonard for the regular season. Try to continue to ramp him up because remember, he's only been cleared for full contact for the past week. I think Saturday and Sunday were his first reps in that scenario. So wouldn't surprise me if Shaq Leonard doesn't play in the preseason, but don't worry, all signs are that the maniac will be out there week 1 against Jacksonville, and he's been looking very good from what I've seen.
Yeah, and don't fret if you don't see him out there for the preseason. He's audibly and telling people I'm close to being ready. So the Colts are just taking precautionary measures. Again, they're not competing for anything potentially this year. So they're looking at, we just need to get him back to square one, back to 100% health.
Right. And then I think to wrap up our camp notes today, Drake, the young cornerbacks. I mean, Juju Brents and Darius Rush are continuing to get more acclimated with this team, and it seems like they're becoming more comfortable. They're making things very difficult. They're still working with that second team. As I said, Dallas Flowers and Darrell Baker Jr. are the starters on the ones for the Colts. But it's Juju Brents and Darius Rush are making things interesting. They only have one more week of training camp left. But if they can make some noise in these preseason games and continue this momentum, it's going to make that competition really, really interesting as we encroach on week 1.
Yeah, and Rush has had praise throughout, the offseason. Brent's, now that he's healthy, already started making plays. It's almost like he didn't even have any rust to shake off. So you got to love that kind of get up and go. And also Jalen Jones, even though I think he's been working with the third team, he's also showing that he can make some plays too and be a real stifling type of defensive back.
Right. And Flowers and Baker are not going to make that easy. As Matt points out here, Flowers and Baker have made plays daily, it seems.
Baker looks great.
He does. I'm very impressed by Baker. We talked with Darrell Baker Jr. on Sunday. He gave us some really good insight into how he has been preparing. He's a very confident young man, that's for sure. But don't discount Darrell Baker Jr. and Dallas Flowers, really making this competition interesting. Both are big corners, long corners, and they're not afraid to really knock a wide receiver off their spot, be physical right at the line of scrimmage. So we'll have to see. Stats Matt giving us the lowdown on what's happening with the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud 2 for 4 with the interception, all ready to start. Very interesting. I know a lot of us after this are going to tune into that game to see what is going on. But Drake, camp, Colts have one more week of camp, and if I would have to give my overall theme of camp, the Colts are just making steady progress, you know, in every single area. It's very encouraging to see the offensive line has been getting better. Anthony Richardson has been getting better. We're seeing the young quarterbacks come on. We're seeing Josh Downs. We're seeing a lot of good from training camp. Obviously, the running back situation isn't the best. The safety situation, they're missing your 2 starters right now. But for the most part, I think things are going in the right direction, and there's an overall really good feel about this team right now.
Super young team, offensively, defensively. You've got young coaches, new coaches like Steichen in his first head coaching role. You just want to see progress. You want to see baby steps happen, especially after the ridiculousness that was last year. Baby steps, baby steps, baby steps, and they have just been making more and more progress with each practice. You just hope that it continues.
Right. Well, let's wrap up the episode with the latest Colts news and rumors here, Drake. Got some good news on the injury front as Tyquan Lewis was removed from the PUP list this week. He joined that defensive line group. And when Tyquan Lewis is healthy, you know, it just seems like he's just such a good depth piece for the Colts on that defensive line. With him coming back, Samson Ebukam came back. You're definitely see that defensive line bulk up and making things a lot more difficult for the Colts offensive line as well. There's been some really good battles, but good to see Tyquan Lewis back. And he looked like he was moving pretty well today from what I saw.
At any given moment, he can be one of the best, if not the best, rotational defensive end in the entire NFL. He provides so much from a backup role. So you got to love to see him out there. The Colts trusted his health, got him another contract this offseason.
Exactly. Colts also signed running back Jason Huntley and tight end Ricky Seals-Jones because when Alvin Kamara came to town to work out for the Colts were unable to reach a deal with him. They did offer him a contract, but Kareem Hunt wanted more. I did say Alvin Kamara. That would have been wild. Yes. So Kareem Hunt came to town, not Alvin Kamara. Kareem Hunt was who the Colts were looking into signing. They did extend a contract. They couldn't come to a deal, so Kareem Hunt is still a free agent, but the Colts did bring in some running back help and another tight end because of all the injuries.
Yeah, and you know, these are just camp bodies. I mean, they have, like we talked about, they have so many like people missing right now, right before the preseason. They want to get people looks. They want to have their roster full. And hey, you know what? It adds even more competition than before.
Exactly. And to wrap things up, the Colts waive injured tight end LaMichael Petway and safety Michael Tutsi to make room for those guys. So all in all, I think it was a productive week of camp, and Saturday's going to be a lot of fun. There's just so many storylines around what is going to happen, especially all eyes are going to be on Anthony Richardson on Saturday to see how the rookie does in his first start. And Drake, I can't wait to see it. Even though it is just preseason, it's what we've been waiting for months to finally see.
Long off season is finally coming to a head. Everything that everyone's been waiting for is going to be happening on Saturday for the first time. Everyone be excited, but remember, this is Anthony Richardson's first game. He's just starting to get the wheels turning on some things. Just be patient with him. It will pay off, I promise you.
Colts fans, don't get too high on the performance. Don't get too low on the performance.
Just watch and enjoy.
Exactly. And Anthony Richardson, when I asked him what his goal was, all he said was go out and get a victory. And so that's what him and the Colts are going to try to do on Saturday. So that's our show for this evening, guys. Really, really appreciate all of the super chats, all of the banter tonight. It was so much fun talking Colts football with you. Want to give a shout out to Patrick Rye, Logan Schmidt, and Truitt for the super chats. You guys are absolute legends, champions. That's a great word for it. We love all of the support from everybody. Also, shout out to Wyatt Law, Stats Matt, CMDSR, who's always telling everybody to go like the video, so make sure you do that.
Yes, sir.
Larry Brown, Nomadic Brian, which apologies, Nomadic Brian, I missed you last week, so wanted to make sure I got you this week. Luke Veerkamp, Freedom First, Rich Wheeler, want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Spooks Hill Joe, and the rest of the crew here. Marvin Fox, I already said Rich Wheeler, but you guys are what make this show so much fun. Tom Williams, BJ Prods. And if I missed anybody, I sincerely apologize, but we do appreciate every single one of your support, following along with us and coming on for the show. So if you haven't done so already, please go follow us on all of our social media, like Horseshoe Huddle on Facebook, follow at Colts on FN on Twitter, and subscribe to the Horseshoe Huddle YouTube channel. Click that bell so you know whenever Drake and I are going live or whenever Shad are going live, because we're going to continue to bring you content every step of the way. Patrick asked, where's Mrs. Moore? She's getting dinner ready, because the dinner is always happening right after the show. So shout out to Mrs. Moore. She didn't give her super sticker today. I'm gonna have to give her something on that, as StatsBat talks about 7 more quarts of pickles that he bagged up. Hey, you do you, Stats.
Let's
Matt.
Go.
Shout out to Luke Vierkamp, who said, appreciate the kind words, guys. You guys are the best. So good to see you all at camp this year, and hope to see you again soon. Absolutely, Luke.
Back at you,
we will be seeing you soon. And if you can't catch us live here, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to the podcast, we're on there as well. So please subscribe and give us a 5-star review. Drake, we're now at the hour mark. This might be our longest episode ever. But go tell the people what they can find on horseshoehuddle.com that you've got written.
I did down that Josh Downs is making a case to be the starting slot receiver in camp. Older one from a couple days ago, Shaq Leonard's been showing out at camp. And then I do have 3 offensive and defensive separate pieces, but players from each side of the ball that need to improve before the season starts.
Awesome. Make sure you go check those out. I have a piece out that came out this morning on why I think Kenny Moore II is the most important defender for the Indianapolis Colts this season. So make sure you go check that out. And of course, I had all the latest from training camp today, specifically about Anthony Richardson. So I have all of his thoughts about his debut, his first NFL experience. So go check all of that out at horseshoehuddle.com. You can follow Drake at DWelster-Drake. You can follow myself at Andrew Moore NFL, and we will be back Saturday afternoon if you're on the Bleacher Report app to break down the game. But if not, catch us back here on YouTube Monday night to break down everything from Colts Bills and everything from Anthony Richardson's first start in the NFL. So until then, enjoy your weekend, enjoy Colts versus Bills, and we'll see you on Monday.